Okay, guys, let's begin. And कौन सा question पे थे? Which question were we on? We were discussing the October-November 24 paper. Could you guys remind me how many questions had we done? जल्दी से बता दो, everyone. कौन सा क्वेश्चन कर रहे थे? देख लो एक दफ़ा हमने कहाँ तक कर लिया था. आई थिंक यहाँ तो 11 तक तो हमने कर लिया था. आई गेस वी वर डिस्कसिंग. आई थिंक वी वर डन टिल 11. सो हमने 12 तक कर लिया था, राइट? 12 तक कर लिया था. सो लेट्स कंटिन्यू. बेटा सबको बता दें कि वी हैव स्टार्टेड द लाइव स्ट्रीम अगैन. आई एम टारगेटिंग कि हम एक पेपर और कर लें अक्टूबर नवंबर 24 वेरिएंट 3 ख़त्म करने के बाद. अक्टूबर नवंबर 23 का पेपर भी कोशिश करते हैं करने की. यू गाइस जस्ट लेट योर एवरीवन नो दैट वी हैव स्टार्टेड द स्ट्रीम बैक अगैन and share the stream links with everyone. Question number 12, we were on question number 12. Which policy is most likely to solve the free rider problem? Now, obviously, solving the free rider problem would involve a direct provision, right? So, simple question, simple answer. इसका होगा question number 12 का answer होगा direct provision by the government. Right, so government directly provides them because the free market fails to provide them due to the free rider problem, right? Okay, so moving forward, the next question. So the question is, boy, question 13 says very low interest rates in an economy encourage economic growth. Very low interest rates in an economy encourage economic growth, right? So yes, बताएं. Very low interest rates in an economy encourage economic growth and cause a large increase in house prices. Which group of people is most likely to experience a fall in income and an increase in wealth as a result of these changes? Yes, students, question number 13. What is the answer? Question number 13 का answer होना चाहिए. Question number 13, it should be boy, retired people who own their house, because they are saying that which group of people is most likely to experience a fall in income and an increase in wealth as a result of these changes. That is when your interest rates, very low interest rates and a large house prices. So which group of people are most likely to experience a fall in income and an increase in wealth as a result of these changes? Boy, because you see, when interest rates are very, very low, so low interest rates would mean that there would be low income from savings, right? So there would be low income from savings, which would hurt retired people, which would hurt the retired people, right? Because retired people are relying on, number one, either pension income and that income that they have saved, right, in the banks. So yeah, pension ke paise if they're saving it, so I mean they would be hurted. I mean they would hurt. It would hurt them, and the fact that rising house prices, if house prices are rising, then the wealth will increase. But it will increase for only those who own the property. Thus, what will happen is that these retired people would lose income, but they would lose income. See, income is a flow concept, wealth is a stock concept. So income and wealth are two different concepts. They're not the same. So they would lose income, but interest income basically, but they would gain wealth if they own their own homes. So question number 13, boy, is the correct answer, right? Question number 13, everyone. Question number 14 says a large scale farming enterprise uses inputs of labor and capital that are substitutes. If the government introduces a policy to subsidize capital equipment, how would this affect the factor inputs? जी बेटा जल्दी जल्दी मुझे बताते रहे आंसर, और जब मैं आपसे पूछूं कि have you understood it, please let me know that you have understood in the comments. Only that's the only way that I can know that you guys are following. Also share the video link that I have started the video again. We're going to be discussing another paper as well, inshallah. Question number 14, the correct answer, so yes, 14 का क्या होगा? 14 would be 14 would be, we're going to be discussing one more paper, Shelley, Ellen, we're going to be discussing one more paper. The correct answer should be A for Apple. Quantity of labor will decrease and the quantity of capital equipment will increase, because the government is subsidizing the capital equipment, which will reduce the relative cost as compared to labor. So the firms will switch from labor, which is now more expensive, to capital, which is now less expensive, right? So firms will replace the labor with capital, which will lead to less employment but more machinery usage. So the quantity of labor would decrease and the quantity of employment would increase. Got it? That's question number 14. Understood question 14, sabko? Everyone understood question 14. Question number 15 says a country experienced an annual deflation rate of 2% for 4 successive years. Which statement is correct for the 4-year period? This is a good question. Guys, what is question number 15? What do you think is the answer to question number 15? It says a country experienced an annual deflation rate of 2% for 4 consecutive years. So, yes, what do you think should be the answer to question number? Hunzala says A. No, Hunzala, A is incorrect. C. A is incorrect. See, for such a question, let's say year 0. In year 0, which will be your base year, let's say. Ariha, D is incorrect. Which will be your base year. The inflation rate would be 0. Inflation rate is always 0 in the base year. From year 0 to year 1. So in year 1, the inflation, and by the way, inflation rate is 0, so the index is 100, right? So you have an index of 100. Now inflation went up by 2%, which means 100 into 1, it went up by 2%, so the index has to be 100 times 1.02. So 100 into 1.02, the index has to be 102. So in year 1, the index was 102. In year 2, the index would again rise by 2% because inflation rate is 2%. So 102 ka 2%. It's compounding. So it's compounding. On the previous value, it will rise by 2%. So 102 times 1.02 would give you 104.04. So 2 years have passed now. That is year 1 and year 2. In year 3, the interest rate again went up by 104.04 times 1.02. That is 106.1208. And in year 4, it went again from 106.1208 times 1.02. That is how much it. So the index is 108.243. Now, very simple question. Now, I want you to focus on 2 things here. First, focus on year 0. The base year is 100. So in year 0, your base year is 100. In year 0, your index is 100. So from year 0 to year 4, from year 0 all the way to year 4, your index rises from 100 to क्या कहते हैं, how much? It rises from 100 to how much does it rises to? Times 1.02. So basically what you now need to do is that I think मैंने कोई calculation error तो नहीं किया है. 100 से 20%, 2% would go up. I think I've made some calculation error. So अरे यार, माय गॉड यार, हद हो गई यार, हद हो गई, कोई बता भी नहीं रहा मुझे, लिटरली नो वन इज़ टेलिंग यू। बेटा पेपर जो होता है ना इंग्लिश में देना होता है, तो इंग्लिश में भी ना एक्सप्लेन भी मैं इंग्लिश में ही करता हूँ। सो मुझसे ना ये जो ये बातें करते हैं ना उर्दू में एक्सप्लेन करते हैं यार, मतलब लिटरली यू आर गिविंग द पेपर इन इंग्लिश, तभी तो तुम लोग प्रोसेस नहीं कर पाते क्योंकि अंग्रेज़ी समझ में नहीं आती है। हद हो गई। सो ईयर डिफ्लेशन हो रही है शायान, दैट इज़ एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, डिफ्लेशन हो रही है और मैं इन्फ्लेशन कर रहा हूँ बैठ के। सी ज़ीरो कैलोरीज, ब्रेन कैलोरीज आर डेड। एनीवेज, सो दिस इज़ हाउ यू नीड टू डू। बेसिकली आप क्या करोगे, 100 टाइम्स 98% हो जाएगा ना ये, तो 2% से इट्स गोना फॉल। सो 100 का 98 ये हो जाएगा 98, इंडेक्स विल फॉल टू 98। ईयर 2 में it would be 98 times, you know, each time it's falling, right? So so it would be 98 times point, तो ये कितना हो जाएगा, how much would be the index? The index would be 98% of this would be 96.04. Year 3, that is absolutely correct, Ariha. 96 point, it would be 94.1192, and in year 4, I mean ये मैं बहुत लंबी working कर रहा हूँ, I mean there's a very good shortcut to this as well. I'll tell you what the shortcut is. First let's figure this out. 94.1192 times 0.98. This would be 92.23. ले लेते हैं 92.23. So in year 0 the inflation rate was 100. In year 4 the the value is 92.23, which means that if you calculate the inflation rate, by the way, so deflation rate. So the deflation rate is how much? How much is the deflation? The deflation is आप मेरे पास जो deflation आ रही है, that is I mean the value that I'm getting on the calculator is 7.76, right? So the deflation rate I'm getting is minus 7.76. So that is the rate of deflation. So for basically the rate of deflation that I'm getting is 7.76. So you can say minus 7.8. So this is the deflation rate. So the deflation rate is 7.8%. So which means that price level is falling. So for question number 15, the correct answer is B for boy. The price level fell by less than 8%. And by the way, let's see why is it A, C, and D the wrong answers. In A it says the price level fell by 8%. See, price level is not falling by 8% because the reason is that if you say that the price level is let's say you say that price level is falling by 8%. Let's say you say that. So if you say that the price level is falling by 8%, it means that the index of year 4 has to be 92. Sorry. It means that the index of year 4 has to be 92, which is incorrect because the index of year 4 is not 92, it is 92 point, it is less, it is basically slightly greater than 92 because it is compounding, right? So it has a compound effect, right? So ये गलत हो जाएगा. C में the real value of money fell by 8%. The real value of money is not falling by 8% because the real value of money should rise. Or obviously it's not going to rise by 8% because the deflation rate is less, but the real value of money has to rise because it's deflation. Secondly, the real value of money fell again by less than 8%. ये भी नहीं हो सकता because although yes the real, I mean inflation is less than 8%, but sorry, deflation is less than 8%, but the real value of money should rise here, not fall, because it's deflation. In deflation, the real see, if inflation is negative, it means there is deflation. In deflation, cost of living goes down and the real value of money goes up, right? अच्छा, इसका shortcut भी है करने का. There's a shortcut to it as well. It's a math thing, by the way. I don't know if you guys will understand it. The shortcut is that you know that every year, you guys know that every year the inflation is basically negative, right? 2% से price fall हो रही है. So basically what you do is that you just 1 minus 0.02 raised to the power of 4, which is equals to ये हो जाएगा 1 minus, if you guys know how to do this, I mean You guys know basic math, right? So इसका आंसर आपके पास आना चाहिए 0.922, which is technically the index would be 92.2 something, right? So इस तरीके से भी आप कर सकते हो, बट मैं कैलकुलेटर पे इसी तरीके से करूँगा. आई मीन आई वुड बी मोर कन्वीनियंट. यू कैन डू दिस एज वेल. ठीक है. ओके, सो गॉट इट. सो आपके पास इंडेक्स आ जाएगा एंड देन व्हाट यू नीड टू डू इज दैट, मतलब 92.2 आ गया ना, बस 100 minus 92.2 divided by 100 times 100, the answer is 7.8. मतलब simple. Got it? The inflation is falling by less than 8%. Understood? ये भी है, this you can use this as well. Understood everyone? Are we good on this? Everybody? Are we good? Clear है? Understood? How are we getting? Okay, question number 16. In a circular flow income model of an economy, Y, C, I, G, X, S, T, and M represents total income consumption. Which statement is correct? Which statement is correct? So the correct statement is, if investment at equilibrium, the level of Y and C are always the same. That is not correct. Equilibrium injections are equal to withdrawals, and Y and C cannot be the same because Y equals to C plus I plus G plus net exports. Governments always adjust G so that economy is in equilibrium. No, this is incorrect. If national income is in equilibrium, X must be equal to M. This is incorrect as well. For national income to be in equilibrium, your injections must equal withdrawal. So you're left with C, so you mark C as the right answer. But C, देख लेते हैं, if I is not equal to S, that is if it is possible for the national income to be in equilibrium. So basically what this means is, if I is not equal to S, now you need to understand what is I. I stands for investment and S stands for saving. Now investment is an injection and saving is a withdrawal. So in a very simple two-sector model as in there's only households and firms and your intermediaries like banks. So the level, so in a very simple model, your injections would be the only investment in a two-sector model and withdrawal would be the only saving. But whether you have a two-sector model, three or a four-sector model, four-sector model is an open economy, three-sector model is a model where you introduce the government as well. So technically, if investment is not equal to saving, it means that the economy is in disequilibrium. And because the economy is in a disequilibrium, there is tendency for change to take place. Remember the definition of equilibrium? I remember teaching my students the definition of equilibrium as tendency to change. And when there is tendency to change, means there's still possibility for things to happen to bring back the economy, macroeconomy, to a stable equilibrium. So if injections are not equal to withdrawals, the economy is in a state of disequilibrium and there's tendency for things to happen that will bring the circular flow or the macroeconomy back in equilibrium. So national equilibrium basically requires your injections, the total injections should equal withdrawals, that is your I plus G plus X should equal withdrawals like S plus T plus M, right? Okay. So if your injections are not equal, if your investment is not equal to saving, that is injection not equal to withdrawal, you still have the possibility for national income to be in equilibrium. Now basically ठीक है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 17 देखते हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 17. By the way, if you look at this MCQ, what they're saying is that if I is not equal to S, I mean, if I is not equal to S, it is still possible for the national income to be in equilibrium, because the national income is in equilibrium when injections are equal to withdrawals, right? So maybe I is not equal to S. Actually, I think I didn't really explain the MCU properly pehle. I just didn't click me, but now just look at what I'm actually trying to say. If I is not equal to S, look at this. Look at this. मैंने अभी सही से पढ़ा है ऊपर का statement. If I is not equal to S, but your economy is still unequal. So it's a possible. Let's say this is 10, while this is 9. Then is it possible that the equation can still be equal? If what I'm saying is that I plus G plus X equals, the total of this equals S plus M plus T. So if I is 10 while S is 9, they both are not equal. But is it possible for all of this to be still equal? Yes, it is, because the government spending could equal, the government spending and the exports total could actually, the government spending and the exports total could be slightly greater, which could sort of make up this difference and still equal the equation. So this is what the MCQ is saying. That if I is not equal to S, it is still possible for the national income to be in equilibrium. It's still possible. So it actually meant, I thought that they're talking about a closed economy previously, but मैंने वो ऊपर का जब पढ़ा तो they're talking about a full-fledged open economy. So what this MCQ basically means is that they're saying that the total of injections can still equal total of withdrawals, despite the fact that your savings are not equal to your investments, because still the total of government spending in X could be slightly higher, because S is lower, right? S is lower than I by, let's say, a value of $1. So G and X could slightly make up for that difference, and then this equation can still be equal. So it is still possible for the economy to be in equilibrium. So C is the correct answer for question 16. So समझ आ गया everyone? You guys got 16? Question 16 सबको समझ में आ गया? Everyone, question 16? Everyone, question 16 understood? Guys, is that a yes for question 16? Everyone else as well, apart from Cheyenne. What leads to a rise in frictional unemployment? What leads to a rise in frictional unemployment? Frictional unemployment would arise when you have a temporary unemployment while you are transitioning between jobs. So, and frictional unemployment is not a bad thing, because it's a very normal part of a healthy labor market. So basically the correct answer for question number 17 has to be David. A rise in number of workers leaving one job to look for another job. Okay. Question number 17 is David. Question number 18 says the information shows data from a national income account. So by the way guys, ये net domestic product मैंने mock 3 में test किया था, और मैंने आपको बताया था that I told you guys that in mock 3 I tested net domestic product, because one of the recent years they have given about net domestic product. So net domestic product, you guys should know what net domestic product is. The information shows data from a country's national income accounts: GDP, gross value added at basic prices, subsidies, capital consumption. What can be concluded from the national income account? So what you need to do is that you need to find out the net domestic product, you need to find out the indirect tax revenue. So basically, let's Hunzila says David. David is not the answer, Hunzila, it's boy. The answer to question 18 is boy. I think you're talking about 17. But anyways, देखें कैसे निकालेंगे? First, let's calculate the value of indirect tax. So GDP at market price is 200,000, and you minus your indirect tax from it. You deduct your indirect taxes, that is let's say X, and you add you deduct your indirect taxes, that is X, and you add your subsidy, that is 5,000. So you'll get your GDP at basic price, I guess. I hope I'm doing the right thing. GDP at basic price is I'm doing the right thing, 180,000, right? So it should be 180,000 minus 5 plus 200. Nahin. Yeah, So 180 minus 5 plus, so the answer should be, तो क्या वैल्यू आ रही है आपके पास इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस की? What is the value of indirect taxes? जी क्या वैल्यू आ रही है? What is the value of, it's 200 plus x, I mean sorry, so what is the value of indirect taxes guys? जल्दी से बता दो ज़रा प्लीज़, क्या वैल्यू निकाली है आप लोगों ने? एक मिनट यार, मैं एक आई एम जस्ट लेट मी टाइप अ मैसेज. अच्छा जी, अच्छा guys, just a second, I need also sleep now. आपके पास GDP दिया हुआ है at market prices 200,000. You have gross value added at basic price. Gross value added at basic price is simply your GDP at basic price, or you can say GDP at factor cost, right? ठीक है, GDP at basic price or GDP at factor cost. Okay. Then you have subsidies given. Capital consumption is basically your depreciation. Okay. So okay, so अगर आप क्वेश्चन ओके, सो हमारे पास अब हमें करना बेसिकली क्या है कि सबसे पहले वी नीड टू सबसे पहले काम करते हैं. सो वी नीड टू बेसिकली फाइंड आउट द so the first question, so it says find out the net domestic product at market prices. So the net domestic product at market prices लिखा है. So the net domestic product at market prices would be equal to the GDP at market price, and I told you guys about this formula, minus your depreciation which is capital consumption. ठीक है, so basically ये हो गया. So GDP at market price is 200,000 minus depreciation, that is capital consumption, is 30,000. So this is the formula for net domestic product. देखिए net national product नहीं है, this is not net national income, this is net domestic product. Formula for net domestic product is GDP minus capital consumption. The formula for net national income or net national product is GNP minus depreciation. The formula for net national income or net national product is GNP minus depreciation. The formula for net domestic product is GDP minus depreciation. So ये हो जाएगा 170,000. So the answer is either A or the answer is B. ठीक है, the answer is either A or the answer is B. अब हम कैसे निकालेंगे इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स रेवेन्यू? हम बेसिकली ऐसे निकालेंगे कि हमारे पास जो जीडीपी होती है एट बेसिक प्राइस, दैट इज़ 180,000. ठीक है, यू एड इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस इन इट विच इज़ X, you deduct subsidies from it which is 5,000, and you will arrive at the value of GDP at market price which is how much? 200,000. ठीक है, so how much is the answer coming? 180 minus 5 is 175 minus 20, 25,000 is the indirect tax. Okay, so question number 18 is boy. ठीक है, और इस तरह के बहुत सारे MCQs जो हैं मैंने see dude, I am not your parent or your I mean I am no one to tell you when you want to sleep. You want to go and sleep right now, just go and sleep right now. I mean, for those who want to do the MCQs with me, I'm going to be finishing this paper and then I'm going to be doing another paper. But I am also very tired, so I'll think about it. But if you guys want me to do it, I can do another I can stretch another paper as well. I can stretch another hour for you guys. ठीक है? But anyways, ये question समझ में आ गया किस तरीके से किया है? November 23 paper variant 2. GDP at basic prices plus indirect tax minus subsidy would give you the GDP at market price. So you'll get the indirect tax. This is the formula that I mean, you guys must be knowing. ये आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा उसमें national income accounting में about this formula. GDP at basic price plus indirect tax minus subsidy is GDP at market price. ठीक है? Okay guys, ठीक है. अगर मैं boy is the correct answer. Got it everyone? Clear hai? Is everyone good on this? Should we move forward now? If I make any calculation error, just let me know, because I am also very, very tired. So at this point, there's a huge tendency that I might make any sort of calculation error. So just let me know. So you add indirect tax and going from basic to market, right? Like, so we add indirect tax, we deduct subsidies. Question number 19 says a government is considering building a large hospital. The impact on the country's price level will depend largely. Abdullah, clear ho gaya? Very good. Will depend on the amount of expensive raw material the country imports for the hospital and the level of unemployment in the country. Which combination of imports of materials for the hospitals and the level of unemployment is most likely to lead to the largest increase in price level? So, see, अगर आप to result in a largest increase in price level, na? So if you're importing raw material, then if you are, and see, it says that the impact on the country's price level will depend partly on the amount of expensive raw material the country imports for the hospital. So the largest rise in price level would happen when the import of material is very high, because it will increase the import bill of raw materials. So if the import bill of raw materials will go up, it will increase the import, it will basically increase the cost of production for these hospitals, for the inputs that will be used as raw material in the hospital. So the import of raw material has to be high, right? And which combination of, and plus, क्या कहते हैं, the level of unemployment has to be very low, because if the level of unemployment is low unemployment means that the economy is near full capacity. It is near full capacity or near full employment. So if it's near full employment, then a government that is considering to build a large hospital means that the government is considering to build a large hospital is somewhere close to at this point. And if a rise in AD would basically, sort of mean that your inflation would happen, basically. So the unemployment has to be low so that inflation would happen, right? And so there are two things that's happening here. The fact that unemployment is low would result into, and the government spending is going up on the hospital. The fact that unemployment is low and government spending is going up on the hospital will result into demand pull inflation. This will result in demand pull inflation, and this would result into cost push inflation. So the question is asking what will lead to the largest increase in price level. The largest increase in price level would happen when there is both sort of inflation. There is demand pull inflation as well, and there is cost push inflation as well. There is demand pull inflation as well, and there is cost push inflation as well. So 19 का जो आंसर है वो boy है. तो question is saying which combination of import of material for the hospital and the level of unemployment is most likely to lead to the largest increase in price level. So the largest increase in price level will happen when you have an increase in price level both from the demand side and the cost push side. So there's cost push inflation happening as well because of import of material, and the unemployment is low, which means that there's AD is rising. So when the unemployment is low, it means that labor is short. You have shortage of labor, right? Your economy is already at full capacity or near full capacity. The labor market is very tight. It's economic term होती tight labor market. Shortage है labor की, because unemployment इतनी कम है. So a small increase in AD because of a rise in government spending on hospital would result in a large demand pull inflation. Got it? That's what it is. Everyone clear on question 19? Question 20, if interest rates are reduced, what is most likely to decrease? If interest rates are reduced, what is most likely to decrease? If interest rates are reduced, then what will happen is that lower interest rates would mean that your lower interest rates would mean that it would result in hot money outflows. Hot money outflows honge, financial investors would seek better returns elsewhere because our relative interest rates have because when our interest rates goes down, they would compare our interest rates with other countries, and if in relative terms ours have gone down, they would pull their money out and move to somewhere else, to the rest of the world in some other bank. So hot money outflows honge, this supply of the currency will go up, it will result into depreciation of the currency. Our currency will weaken, it will depreciate. When a currency will depreciate, the price of exports will go down and the price of imports will go up. Sahi hai? So when the price of exports will go down, it will mean that export prices will fall. आप अगर note करें ना, exchange rate पे they are giving technical MCQs. Inflation, exchange rate, connecting in exchange rate with inflation, they are giving these sort of MCQs. They are not testing difficult diagrams now. But now they are testing technical concepts. So if your exchange rate concepts, inflation concepts are weak, you will end up screwing the MCQs, right? So this means that what is more likely to decrease? Export prices is more likely to decrease. Okay? Because depreciation would make exports cheaper in foreign currency. In terms of foreign currency, our exports will now become cheaper because export prices are falling. Export prices are falling, right? So that is what is the correct answer. Export prices are falling in terms of foreign currency, because less foreign currency is required to buy our exports now. So for them, it's cheaper. Question number 21 says supply side policy has fiscal consequences. Supply side policy has fiscal consequences. Which statement is not correct? So 21 का आंसर होना चाहिए. 21 का आंसर क्या होना चाहिए? Which statement is not correct? What do you think? Which statement is not correct? So which statement is not correct में I would have attempted this question towards the end because I need to read every statement then. Which statement is not correct? Yes, guys. Is A correct? I think is A correct? A is correct. Increasing government spending would result in long runs aggregate supply to rise, but will have AD, but it's a fiscal policy, so inflation will happen. B is also correct. It says increasing government expenditure on training will increase. It will short term में AD increase होगी, LRAS increase होगा long run में. C says reduce government. C is the right answer because it says reduce government spending, infrastructure spending reduces LRAS, but has a short-term expansionary effect on AD. So the fact that it says that reduced government infrastructure spending reduces the economy's LRAS, this is correct. Infrastructure spending goes down, LRAS will fall to the left. It should shift to the left. But it also says, at the same time, it also says that it has a short-term expansionary effect on AD. This is incorrect. It does not have a short-term expansionary effect. It might have a contractionary effect on AD. Aggregate demand may dampen, AD will fall. 21 is C. And if you guys look at 20, अगर आप देखें papers की 2024 के papers November के, they were difficult. Even May June 24 was difficult. May June 24 was relatively easier. November 23 was slightly difficult. But they are giving confusing MCQs on macro. 22 says changes in fiscal policy can affect the distribution of income and wealth. Question number 22. Changes in fiscal policy can affect the distribution of income and wealth. G. Which combination of fiscal policy would most likely be regressive? Regressive means that it would be unfair because it would take a large proportion of income of tax from the poor as compared to the rich. G. 22. Good question. Very good question. I like this question. G. The correct answer, Abdullah Jibran says D, Mohammad Saad says A, Faizan says C, Umayma says C. The correct answer, Hunzila says A. The correct answer is A for Apple. Which combination of fiscal policy would most likely be regressive? देखिए मैं आपको समझाता हूँ. It says a fall in lowest level of income when income tax has to be paid. अब आपको पता होगा कि आपके tax के brackets होते हैं, right? You have tax brackets like 0 to 150,000 and you're like 0% tax. 51,000 to let's say 100,000, you have like 10% tax. Now they are saying They are saying a fall in the lowest level of income when the income tax has to be paid. So what is the lowest level of income when income tax has to be paid? It is 51,000, right? It is 51,000. This is the lowest income when income tax has to be paid. So, as in not 51,000, but my point is that because out of 51,000, 1,000 will not be taxed. So you only, if you're in, so let's say someone's income is 51,000. Someone's income is 51,000. How much tax would he or she pay? So from 0 to 50, she would pay nothing, but for 1,000, he or she would pay 10% tax, right? But what we are saying is, let's say that you reduce it, you say, no, this is not going to work like that. We are reducing it from 0 to 30,000. We're making it only up to 30,000 income is exempt from tax. But from 31,000, you need to pay, from 31,000 to 60,000, you will pay 10% tax. Now, what is going to happen is, that let's say if someone is earning 51,000, someone is earning an income of 51,000. So out of 51,000, 30,000 is exempt from tax. So 21,000 will be taxed. Initially only 1,000, initially in a previous tax system, his income was 51,000, but only 1,000 was being taxed. But now 21,000 is being taxed. The same dude last month was paying only tax on 1,000. He was only paying $100 tax, but now he is paying $2,100 tax. So this dude के लिए मसला है ना. So it is regressive for this because when you are reducing the lowest level of income when income tax has to be paid, so this is regressive. Then it is not good for, सही है. So lower, because you are lowering the threshold. You are lowering the threshold for income tax, and what this does is that it basically, अब किसी की, let's suppose किसी की income 30,000 है, sorry, किसी की income 20,000 है. Let's say someone's income is 20,000. Sorry, let's say someone's income is 31,000, right? Let's say someone's income is 31,000. Now, previously when the tax bracket was between 0 to 50, it was 0% tax. So his income was exempt. But now, in this particular tax bracket, he will end up paying 1,000 from 0 to 30, 0%, but 1,000 ke upar he would end up paying 10% tax. So what I am trying to say is that when you lower the threshold for income tax, that basically brings the poor people or the low income earners, these guys who were earning 30,000, 31,000, 32,000, 33,000. When you lower the threshold for income tax, it brings these low earners into the tax brackets or into the tax net. पहले ही exempt थे, but now it brings them into the tax net. Number one, so that is regressive. Number two, it says, and a fall in the rate of inheritance tax. Inheritance tax is a tax you inherit, obviously, on your wealth, right? So if you lower the inheritance tax, it will benefit the wealthier. The poor people don't have wealth, so there is no inheritance tax for them. So lowering inheritance tax would benefit wealthier households, which will increase wealth inequality. So this will increase wealth inequality. So वो यही आपसे कह रहे हैं कि which combination of fiscal policy would most likely be regressive? Number one, lowering a fall in the lowest level of income, when income tax has to be paid, and this would bring in the poor people into the tax net, which is regressive because previously they weren't paying any taxes, but now they will pay income taxes. And lowering inheritance taxes would benefit the wealthier people, again increasing wealth inequality. Got it? ठीक है. Question number समझ आ गया? Question number 23 says, what does it means when a government has a budget surplus? What does it means when a government has a budget surplus? G. What's the answer? क्या पूछा है आपने? Inheritance example. मतलब when you inherit the property or wealth, right? So you pay a tax on it by the state, to the state basically. That's what it means. What does it means when a government has a budget surplus? So when you have a budget surplus, 23, it means that the government revenue exceeds expenditure. तो ये तो बहुत easy है, ठीक है. बट आप अपने कल के पेपर में ये MCQs, ये रिग्रेसिव और प्रोग्रेसिव और इस तरह की चीज़ हो सकता है कि दे माइट टेस्ट यू ऑन एवरेज रेट ऑफ टैक्स और द मार्जिनल रेट ऑफ टैक्स और समथिंग लाइक दैट you could expect. But is 22 clear to everyone? Guys, is 22 clear to everyone? Everyone who is on the stream right now, have you understood question number 22? Is 22 clear to everyone? Is that a yes? 22 is clear to everyone? Umaima says yes. Hunzala says yes. ठीक है. Shiraz Piracha says, what is marginal rate of tax? माशाल्लाह, माशाल्लाह, क्या बात है शिराज पराचा, क्या बात है आपकी बेटा, क्या बात आपने की है, ज़बरदस्त यार, क्या बात की है आपने. हुंजला से सर चीट शीट शेयर करेंगे. यार चीट शीट मैं शेयर करूँगा, मुझे इतना थक गया हूँ मैं कि मेरी स्टोरी बनाने की भी हिम्मत नहीं है. तो आप मुझे बोलो तो इधर ही लिंक शेयर कर दूँ. आप लोग का काम है फिर आप बस इसको चीट शीट को ना सारे ग्रुप्स में सर्कुलेट कर दो, हो जाएगा काम. क्वेश्चन नंबर 23-24 सेज अ गवर्नमेंट मार्जिनल रेट ऑफ इनकम टैक्स का मतलब होता है शिराज कि आप एक्स्ट्रा डॉलर पे कितना टैक्स दे रहे हैं. इट इज़ द, मैं क्या बताऊँ आपको, इट्स अ होल न्यू, it will take some time for me to go through it, but marginal rate of tax is simply your additional tax that you pay on every extra dollar that you earn, right? That is what, and the formula is the change in tax divided by the change in income, right? Anyways, a government subsidizes domestic production of manufactured goods. A country subsidizes domestic production of manufactured goods. So the correct, what is most likely outcome? The answer is कि obviously आप subsidize करोगे तो economic growth तो आएगी. So this is pretty simple because subsidies would reduce the cost of production, so it would increase output, more jobs, more income, higher GDP, so it would just increase economic growth. Question number 25 says, what is not a valid explanation of why a government might allow a deficit on the balance of payment of the current account to continue? What is not a valid explanation of why the government might allow a deficit on the BOP to continue? Yes, why? Which is not a valid explanation to allow a current account deficit. So, see, yes, see, the thing, kya hoga? This is a good question. 25, Shiraz says A. What is not a valid explanation of why a government might allow a deficit on the BOP to continue? If you guys remember, I had, when I was teaching, I'm sure that you guys must have also, but I think I made a reel on this as well, that the balance of payment must always balance, right? And so the balance of payment must always balance, which means that the current account should equal the financial and the capital account. So a deficit on the current account has to be financed by an equivalent financial and capital account surplus. So, and one of the ways in which the government does that is that it attracts capital inflows and FDI so that there's a positive surplus on this account so that it offsets the deficit on the current account, right? So if you look at option number B, it says FDI might help to finance the deficit. So this is a valid, reason that, the FDI will finance the deficit, so the government might allow the deficit to continue because ultimately FDI will finance that deficit, or portfolio investment might finance it, or hot money inflows, or all of this combined might finance it. The country may have a larger surplus on other parts of BOP, makes sense. Again, वही वाली बात कि यहाँ पे surplus होगा, financial account और capital account में surplus होगा. So it offsets the deficit on the current account. The standard of living is increased if the level of cheap food imports is significant. Yes, ठीक है, कोई मसला नहीं है. The government might allow the deficit on the BOP to continue because maybe you are importing cheap food, so the government doesn't have a problem. Maybe the current account deficit is not a problem because the cheap food is is improving the living standard of the country, so the government might allow the deficit to continue. Not a problem. This is what they're saying. The problem is option A. The BOP must always balance. So what is not a valid explanation? Yes, the BOP must always balance, but fine. But the point is that just because the BOP must always balance doesn't really means that the government might allow the deficit on the BOP to continue. It must make sure that, you have to understand, ये कोई logic नहीं है. This statement is actually not really making sense here, that the BOP must always balance. ठीक है, this is correct. The BOP must always balance. The BOP must balance. It will automatically balance. But it doesn't always automatically balances. In theory it does, but it actually doesn't. So this is not a valid explanation of why a government might allow, because this is just a misleading logic that is being given here. So this is not making any sense to why the government might allow, right? Just because the BOP must balance doesn't mean that the government will allow the deficit to continue forever. Okay? The government has to do something. Got it? So A is the correct answer. The country, ये तो हमने last mock 3 में किया है ना, question 26. ये छोड़ दें, आगे बढ़ जाए. हमने अभी तो किया है mock में question number 26, 250 extra cars. ठीक है? But इसको a country producing decides to specialize in the manufacture of it finds that it can import 1 truck in exchange for 4 cars. So what is the result of if it exports all the cars? So if it can import 1 truck in exchange for 4 cars. So the country can import 1 truck in exchange for 4 cars. And the country is deciding to specialize in the manufacture of cars. So what is the maximum number of cars that it can make? It could make 10,000 cars. Right now it's only making how many cars? It's making 5,000 cars, and it is consuming 1,000 trucks, and it is making 5,000 cars, right? So if it focuses on cars, then it will make 10,000 cars. So how many extra cars will it make? It will make 5,000 extra cars. It will make 5,000 extra cars, and it says that it is going to export all those extra cars. So if it exports all those extra cars, how many trucks will it get? It will get 5,000 divided by 4. It will get 1250 extra trucks. Initially it was making 1,000 trucks, but now it will import 1250 trucks and consume them. So there are 250 extra trucks in the market, right? Question number 27. What is most likely to cause a current account deficit? What is most likely to cause a current account deficit? 27. What is most likely to cause a current account deficit? A relatively high rate of inflation. Higher inflation would make your exports uncompetitive, so exports will fall. It will also switch the consumers to cheaper imports abroad, so imports will rise. Current account deficit will happen. Two statements describing form of protectionism a government can use are listed. Which combination correctly describes these two statements? 28. Yes guys, 28. Statement 1, there is a total ban. Total ban is an embargo, and all imported goods have to be of a specified standard. This is these are your strict quality control checks that you place unnecessarily to just reduce you make the requirements of importing so difficult, unnecessary quality controls and all of that. So this is an administrative you make sure that the import becomes so difficult that you're just like, forget it, man, importing is so difficult. So you just come up with these administrative barriers to reduce your imports. So the answer is C. When there is an improvement in terms of trade. Terms of trade क्यों improve होता है आपको पता होना चाहिए, कब डिक्टेटोरिएट होता है आपको पता होना चाहिए, हर पेपर में आता है इसका सवाल. 29. When is there an improvement in terms of trade? Shiraz Piracha says red tape. 29. When is there an improvement in terms of trade? Yes. When would there be an improvement in terms of trade? The correct answer has to be boy. When there is no change in the price of exports but a fall in the price of imports. So yes, when the denominator goes down, the terms of trade will improve. Pretty simple. 30. What is likely to happen if there is a rise in the international value of a country's currency? Rise in domestic. The country currency की दो values हैं. एक domestic value and then there is international value. Domestic value is determined by your inflation. If inflation goes down, the domestic value goes up. Inflation goes up, the domestic value goes down. And international value is your exchange rate. So rise in international value means appreciation of the currency. So for question number 30, the correct answer has to be boy, a fall in the volume of exports. Because a fall in the volume of exports, because when the currency appreciates, the price of exports goes up. And that reduces the demand for exports, which means that your exports become expensive. So because exports become expensive in foreign currency, it means that foreign buyers would buy less from us, so demand for exports goes down and export volumes would goes down. The quantity of exports would go down significantly, which will reduce the export revenues. ठीक है? Got it? We are done with this paper. Maz, thank you, Maz. Why not D किसका? Why not D? किसका? Question. Why not D किस चीज का? नवंबर 23 भी कर लें, हिम्मत है आप लोगों की यार. फॉर्मूला शीट फिर आप लोग खुद ही भेज दोगे ग्रुप्स में, सर्कुलेट करवा दोगे पूरा उसको, पूरे थ्रू आउट द कंट्री, अगर मैं आप लोगों को शेयर कर दूं तो. इफ़ आई शेयर इट राइट नाउ हियर, सो वुड यू गाइज बी एबल टू sort of just distribute it to whoever is appearing tomorrow in the exam? That's your job. Gee, if I share it, let's say if I share it here, if I share the formula sheet here, let's say, so whoever is appearing for the economics A-level exams, can I count on you guys that he or she will have the formula sheet tomorrow? Yes. Can I count on you guys that he or she will have the formula sheet tomorrow if I share the formula sheet right now in chat? Okay, so now it's, or otherwise I can share it, make a story and share it on my Instagram, but I think I'm too tired for the story. मैं तो सोचा छोड़ दूँ, नहीं दूँ formula sheet, but if you guys want, तो इसको फिर पढ़ के जाना. फिर November 23 करना है कि नहीं करना है, पहले मुझे ये बताएं. You guys want me to cover November 23 or not? You don't worry about me कि सर आप सोचा, you have no idea about the amount of strength I have and the amount of time I can sit and I could probably stretch myself. So you guys do no need to worry about me. आप बताएं आप में हिम्मत है क्या नहीं है. मुझे तो अब आदत हो गई है पढ़ा के जी. फेब मार्च बहुत आसान पेपर है. फेब मार्च में you don't need me for that. You don't need me to literally, I feel it's a waste of time for Feb March. बहुत आसान पेपर है Feb March का. Feb March बहुत आसान है. You don't need me for that. खुद हो जाएगा आपसे. इतने सारे मुश्किल वाले कर लिए, वो खुद कर लो आप जी. करें November 23, जल्दी से कर लेते हैं. अब इतना बैठ गए हो तो बस 40 मिनट्स और जल्दी से कर लेते हैं. क्या कहते हो? अगर 8-9 बच्चों ने कह दिया यस तो फिर मैं करा रहा हूं. करते हैं. लेट्स डू इट. सही है, करें बेटा, स्टार्ट करें. चलो बस करते हैं जल्दी से. पीपीसी दिया हुआ है आपके पास, प्रोडक्शन पॉसिबिलिटी कर्व इन कंट्री टी, विच चेंजेस टेक प्लेस इन कंट्री टीज अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट. अब जल्दी करेंगे इसको, थोड़ा आपने दिमाग थोड़ा लगाना है इधर. सही है, जल्दी करेंगे. विच चेंजेस टेक प्लेस इन कंट्री टीज अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोड्यूसिंग एक्स एज इट इंक्रीजेस द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ as it increases the production of good X. तो इसका करेक्ट आंसर क्या होगा? 1 का आंसर होगा D for David. Opportunity cost increases between points 1 and 2 and between points 3 and 4. Definitely opportunity cost would increase from 1 to 2. Why? Because for because as you can see that this is concave to the origin, right? The curve is concave and the curve gets steeper as you go down the curve, as you go down the PPC, which means that as you go down, then less of X will be obtained for more of Y for being foregone. So the marginal opportunity cost goes up as you go down the curve. Pretty simple. The PPC will just become steeper and steeper. आप देख सकते हो ना कि PPC is becoming steeper and steeper when you move from 1 to 4, when you move from points 1 to 4. So the opportunity cost of producing good X is rising as more and more of X is made, which means that more and more of Y has to be foregone. Question number 2, what is considered the essential requirement for all entrepreneurs? Taking risk. Question number 3, a new section of a road is provided toll free by the government. What best describes this good? Acha, by the way, road is a by nature, there's this argument it's a quasi public, and which makes sense. ठीक है, quasi public है, but you need to understand that this question में it's saying that it is provided toll free by the government, meaning that the government could anytime revoke it. The government could anytime revoke the fact that the government could say कि ठीक है अभी तो right now we are providing it toll free, but we could charge for it as well. So maybe the next day the government, or the next month the government decides that we are charging it. So now the government is actually charging it. So if the government charges it, it means that it is excluding. And road वैसे भी rivalrous to है after a certain point. सही है? So it then makes, that is why basically this is a private good. It is not a public good, because it says it is provided toll free by the government. So ठीक है, right now it is provided toll free by the government, but the fact that the government has that capability and the capacity to actually charge it makes it excludable. Because when it is a public good, public goods jo hote hai na, you cannot charge it. You cannot charge the price for it. But because the road is provided toll free means that the government can charge it. So by nature it is a private good. Okay, so the answer is C for Charlie. Got it, everyone? The government could anytime charge it. बस मैं अभी cheat sheet upload करता हूँ थोड़ी देर में. Eastern European nations have changed from planned to market economies. आसान सवाल है, इसको देख लेना खुद ही. Let's move on to the difficult ones. Rice and pasta are both basic foods in a country. How would a health scare concern rice affecting the market for pasta? Rice and pasta are both basic foods. Easy है. क्या इसका क्या आंसर होगा? Simply if healthcare, how would a health scare concern rice after the G? The answer would be the demand for rice will go down. ठीक है, the demand for rice will go down and the demand for pasta will go up because it's a substitute. So this will cause a shift in the demand for pasta, leading to an extension of supply in pasta. So the demand curve will go outwards from D1. Demand for pasta goes outward from D1 to D2, and that causes an extension in the supply as well, because firms would respond by producing more as the market price goes up. Question number 5, the correct answer is B for boy. Okay, because demand for pasta is going up and that causes an extension. Some goods are overconsumed in the market economy. What is likely to be the cause of this? Yes, some goods are being overconsumed. What is the likely cause of this? क्या आंसर होगा इसका? What is the likely cause of this? Guys, what is the likely cause of this? D, बिल्कुल सही है. Tabir M. Hamid says D. That is correct. Imperfect information. Question number 7. A family is willing to pay a maximum of 600, 500, 400 for air tickets for mother, father, daughter to attend a wedding in another city. Then airline announces a promotional offer for 450 per ticket, provided at least 3 tickets are being purchased. What will be the consumer surplus? Okay. Consumer surplus is willingness to pay minus what you actually pay. The willingness to pay 600, 500, 400. You add all these up. 600 plus 500 plus 450 is the willingness to pay minus the price. And so, I mean, ये तो willingness to pay minus pay वो है ना. So this is your, I mean, minus what you're paying. So what you're paying is 450 times 3 is 1350. So you're paying 1350 in total. And how much are you willing to pay for the ticket? You're actually willing to pay 1550. 1550 minus 1350 is, what is the answer? 1550 minus 1350, question number 7 is 150. Question number 8 says after a 10% decrease in consumers income, the consumer demand for the good rises from 100 to 105. इसमें आपको income elasticity निकालनी है. In quantity demanded 100 से 105 हो गई है. You calculate the percentage change and there's a 10% decrease in income already given है आपको. So YD equals to percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in income. So ये हो जाएगा. I mean, I don't need to solve this, let's say. Okay, neither do you guys. I mean, you know how to solve this. Question number 9. In 2010, poor harvest reduced fruit crops and furniture producers gave big discounts on furniture products. ठीक है? How might these changes have affected the position of supply curve for the products? So poor harvest story है, supply will shift to the left, and obviously it says the furniture producers gave big discounts on furniture. So if they are giving big discounts on furniture, then how might these changes affect the position of supply? So the position of the supply will not change because it will result into movement along the supply curve. There would be a movement along the supply curve. The position of the supply curve would not change. Make sense? ठीक है? Poor harvest reduced fruit crops. That is definitely shifting supply curve to the left. And furniture producers gave big discounts on furniture products. Obviously, they're giving big discounts because the demand is going down. So when the demand is going down, the demand for furniture is going down. The price is falling because they're giving. And that means that there's a movement along the supply curve. So there's no change there's no shift in the position of the furniture producers for supply, because discounts is a price falling. This is a price factor. And when price factors don't cause a shift. So question number 9 is boy. ठीक है? Question number 9 is boy. Question number 10, demand and supply diagram दिया हुआ है आपको. Smartphones import हो रहे हैं. The exchange rate has depreciated. It would make the imports very expensive. At the same time, the price of a complementary good decrease. Price of a complementary good decrease हो रही है, तो demand will increase. So demand will shift to the right, and depreciation will make imports expensive. So raw material will become expensive. So supply will shift to the left. So the correct answer has to be B for boy. ठीक है? Question number 11. The diagram shows the demand fall and supply of houses. In the short run, the stock of houses for sale S1 is fixed. A government decides to allow some agricultural land to be used for building houses. ठीक है? Okay. And subsidizes lower income buyer. So subsidizing lower income buyer means more of a consumption subsidy. So consumption subsidy will shift demand to the right. ठीक है? And because it says that you are allowing the land to be used, so obviously the supply curve will not be vertical anymore, right? It would result into a higher supply and probably more elastic as well, because now you have more land which has increased the amount of supply, right? So for houses so the supply curve is also not going to be the position that it initially was. Okay, so out of whatever the answer options that we have, the correct answer option is D for David, right? Because it makes sense, because you're okay. So for question number 11, the correct answer is D for David. ठीक है? Question number 12 says question number 12 says the equation of G, what is the answer to question number 12? जी बेटा. क्वेश्चन नंबर 12 says the equation for quantity demanded is given the price change. ये बहुत सिंपल है. You पहले आप 5 को रखें यहाँ पे, फिर आप 6 को रखें यहाँ पे, फिर आप 5 को यहाँ रखें, 6 को यहाँ रखें, and then so basically if you keep 5 in demand and you keep 5 in supply, so what is the demand, right? So demand हमारे पास आ रही है 5 into 20 minus 400 is 300. So at a price of $5 the demand is 300. At a price of $5 the supply is how much? 40 times 5 plus 100, 300. So 300 seems like the equilibrium, right? Demand and supply, 300 like seems like the equilibrium at a price of, let's say, 5, right? This is demand and supply. But at a price of 6, let's say at a price of 6, if you keep 6 here, so this would be 6 times 20 minus 400. So demand is like 280 and the supply is how much? You keep 6 in the supply equation. So 100 plus 40 times 6 is 100 plus 40 times 6 is 40 times 6 plus 100. So this is 340. 240 plus 100 is 340. So you have 340 here. So supply is, demand is 280, supply is 340. So you have a surplus of 340 minus 280, 340 minus 280, that is 60. Surplus aa raha hai hamare paas. Question number 12, question number 12, question number 12. Question number 12, you have a surplus, which is the correct answer is the market will move from equilibrium to a surplus. So you have a disequilibrium, right? Got it? You have a surplus of 60. Question number 13 says, what is the most likely cause of a continuous increase in price of a famous painting by now dead artist? Question number 13. The popular view that famous paintings are inappreciating. Exactly. Because that's a popular view, and that is what why people are so much into buying antique masterpieces of painting. So 13, boy, is the correct answer. 14, what is most likely to be regressive? Specific tax on cigarettes, because specific tax on cigarette is an indirect tax, and indirect taxes are regressive in nature. This is a direct tax, this is progressive. स्टेट पेंशन बेनिफिट्स तो टैक्स ही नहीं है, ये तो ट्रांसफ़र पेमेंट्स होते हैं, और वैसे भी दिस दे क्रिएट मोर इक्वालिटी. सो रिग्रेसिव नहीं कह सकते, हमको मिलते ही पुअर लोगों को है ये, तो रिग्रेसिव कहाँ से हुए? और रिग्रेसिव बाय नेचर नहीं है ये. रिग्रेसिव मीन्स दैट समथिंग दैट बर्डनाइजेज मोर द पुअर देन द रिच. तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट्स भी नहीं होगा, बिकॉज दीज आर ट्रांसफर पेमेंट्स एज वेल. सो द आंसर इज, I mean, state benefits and unemployment benefits are not taxes, they are benefits, right? So corporate taxes are progressive, they are direct. Corporate taxes progressive होते हैं because they are direct taxes. Question 15, what is necessary for it to be classified as a transfer payment? Question number 15, it must relate to a non-productive activity, because transfer payments जो होती हैं, they are non-productive. When you, it's a transfer of money. Let's say I am transferring in your account. For example, if you go and study in your college, you pay them a fee, but they are teaching you. So it's not a transfer payment, because they are giving you a service in return, or they are producing and selling you something. A transfer payment is simply a transfer of a payment. Non-productive, no output in return, no economic exchange taking place. Question 16, the government imposes a specific indirect tax of $1. A specific tax, remember, creates a supply curve, parallel shifts upwards. ठीक है? So the supply curve will shift vertically upwards by $1. 16 should be David. The correct answer to question number 16 should be David. Why isn't C in question 13? Question 13 में C इसलिए नहीं है because it says a totally inelastic supply of famous paintings by dead artists. अगर आप इसकी, if you look at the word, although question number 13C, that is that supply is totally inelastic of famous paintings by dead artists, is true. This is not wrong. They are dead, so obviously there's a limited supply available. Whatever it is, someone's in their life they made 100 paintings, so that's the only supply we have. It's fixed. That's true, but that is not the most likely cause of price increase. That's not the reason why prices are constantly increasing. The supply is perfectly inelastic. But that's not the reason for, see, you have to understand. What is the most likely cause of a continuous increase? Why are prices of continuously rising? Supply is inelastic. But that is not the reason why prices are rising. They are rising because the demand is increasing. Look at the wording, focus on the wording of the question. Got it, Abdullah? Question number 17. What term relates to a fall in the domestic real value of the currency? Question 17. What term relates to fall in the domestic value of the currency? Question number 17 should be David, inflation. Because a fall in the real value and domestic value, so it's talking about the currency's domestic purchasing power. So inflation. So fall in the real value of money, that is purchasing power of inflation. Purchasing power that is affected by inflation. Okay? So 17 should be D for David. Yep, we're about to finish the paper. I'm so happy. भाई कल सबने अच्छा करना है पेपर यार. You guys got it. इसके बाद अब ज़्यादा सोना नहीं, इसके बाद चीट शीट पढ़ना और सो जाना. लंबा नहीं, don't just stay up late, okay? Question 18. What must be the result for a country of a rise in its export prices relative to its import prices? Question number 18. The correct answer should be boy, an improvement in terms, because obviously if your export prices are rising more by import prices, so the terms of trade will improve. Pretty simple question. Country X can produce a product at a lower opportunity cost than Y. Country X can produce a product at a lower opportunity cost than Y, so obviously it has a competitive advantage. Pretty simple. Question number 20. For a given year, Fahim says my exam is 3 p.m. Inshallah, Fahim, you have like time. Yours is variant 1. For a given year, Economy X publishes the following: GDP, factor income earned by residents of Economy X working in foreign countries, factor income earned in Economy X by non-residents, size of GNI. Pretty simple. You will add 10, you will deduct 25, because this is an inflow. This is an inflow and this is an outflow, right? So GNI is basically GDP plus net factor income, right? So all the income that is earned by Economy X's residents working abroad would be recorded in the economy's GNI as factor income, as inflows, right? Similarly, current account में भी ये primary income में record होता है, by the way. Factor, both these values will be recorded in the primary income in the current account of Economy X. This will be recorded as inflow in the current account. Actually मुझे inflow GNI निकालते वक्त inflow नहीं बोलना चाहिए था. I'm sorry about that. Current account में as an inflow record होगा ये, and 25 would be recorded as an outflow in the current account primary income. But वैसे GNI के अंदर जब हम net factor income कहते हैं, तो हम कहते हैं कि all the income that belongs to country X but is not earned in country X should be added. All the income that does not belongs to country X but is earned in country but not belongs to country X should be subtracted. अब इसका आंसर निकाल लो, क्या आएगा? ऐड करो, माइनस करो. 20 should be, the answer should be boy. 110 minus 25 is 85. ठीक है, 110 minus 25 is 85. Question number 21 says, which combination is possible for an economy experiencing zero inflation? Which combination is possible for an economy experiencing zero inflation? Average nominal wage. Yes, question number 21. The correct answer is A, average nominal wage. See, if you have zero inflation, it means that the price level is constant, right? So if nominal wages are falling, then real wages have to be falling as well, right? Because the reason is pretty simple. The reason is simple. If you look at the question, you have to understand that if your economy is experiencing zero inflation, then the price level is constant over time, like I said. And which means that, so you see, what is real wage? Real wage is simply nominal wage minus your inflation, right? And so what we're saying is that, I mean, real wage is nominal wage adjusted for inflation. So if there's no change in inflation, right? If there's no change in inflation, the price level is the same. It means that any change that occurs in real wages, right, must be directly caused by a change in nominal wages, since there's no change in the prices to adjust for. And since there's no change in the prices to adjust for, in whatever direction the nominal wage is going, the same direction real wage will go as well. So if nominal wages are falling and there's no inflation to offset, if nominal wages are falling, but let's say if inflation is falling as well, nominal wages are falling, I am getting poorer, nominal wages are falling, I am getting poorer, but inflation is falling massively, let's say. So the real wages must be rising, and my purchasing power should be rising. Despite the fact that nominal wages are falling, my purchasing power should be rising, real wages should be rising, because inflation is falling massively. But what we're saying is if inflation is the same, then the change in real wage is actually caused by the change in the nominal wage, right? So if average nominal wages are falling, there's no inflation to offset this, then the real wage must also be falling, because if workers are earning less in money terms, then the purchasing power of that money is also less in real terms, because there's no inflation to offset that effect. So that is what makes A the correct answer. ठीक है बेटा, क्वेश्चन नंबर 20 का बहुत सिंपल है ना. जीएनआई का फॉर्मूला आपको अप्लाई करना होगा. जीएनआई, और मैंने जो आपको अभी शीट देनी है ना, फॉर्मूला शीट, उसमें लिखा हुआ है जीडीपी प्लस नेट फैक्टर इनकम. नेट फैक्टर इनकम इज द इनकम दैट is earned by the residents, but it is earned by residents abroad, but they are residents of that country. So you will add that in GDP. And see, this 25 income is part of 100. Here 25 is part of 100 because it's earned in country X, but it doesn't belongs to country X. So you will minus it. And this 10 this 10 is not included in 100, although it belongs to the residents of that country. So you'll add that. Okay, so GNI plus GDP. GNI is GDP plus net factor income, meaning you add all that income that belongs to the country but is not earned in the country, minus you'll deduct all the income that is earned in the country but doesn't belong to the country. Question number 22. The graph shows the rate of inflation in Japan from April 2020 to Feb 2021. Over which period did this inflation occur in Japan? Good question. So करें जरा, फिर मैं समझाता हूँ. Question number 22. Did everyone understand question 21? Is that a yes? Quickly, can you comment? Did everyone understand question number 22? Should I think that you guys have understood question number 21? Sorry, 21. 21, everyone clear on 21? Everyone clear on 21, right? 21 is clear? 21 is not clear. 21 में क्या समझ में नहीं आ रहा? 21 में which combination is possible for an economy experiencing zero inflation? What is nominal wage? Nominal wage is the amount of money that you earn. What is real wage? Real wage is the purchasing power of that nominal wage. Real wage is purchasing power of the nominal wage. Now, if the nominal wage is falling, but inflation is falling as well. Inflation is falling as well. So, the real wage must be rising. Ideally, let's say. Let's say that the inflation is falling by a greater extent. Let's say nominal wage is falling by 5% and inflation is falling by 9%. Then real wages must be rising by 4%. The purchasing power of money must be going up by 4%. Now what we are saying is which combination is possible for an economy experiencing zero inflation, means that a country is not experiencing any inflation. The price level जो last year था इस दफा भी वही है, so there's no inflation. Let's say the CPI index was 110 last year, still it's 110, so there's 0%. So there's no inflation. The price level is constant, it's not increasing. Meaning that whatever direction the nominal wage is going, the same direction would the average real wage go as well. Got it? Because real wage is simply the purchasing power of nominal wage. Correct? 22. The graph shows the rate of inflation. Over which period did disinflation occur? Disinflation means that you have inflation at a slower rate, at a decreasing rate. And disinflation may be cost of living is rising, standard of living is falling, real value of money is falling. When you have disinflation. Disinflation is inflation at a lower rate. That's it. Don't think that in disinflation the prices are falling. No, prices are still rising at a deaccelerating rates, and they're not accelerating. It's rising by 10%, then maybe 8%, maybe 6%, but still it's rising. So the most expensive price would be the last year. भाई 2010 में इतने से बड़ी, फिर इतने से बड़ी, फिर कंपाउंड हो रही है ना, इतने से बड़ी, भले इतने से बड़ी फिर, but then it is the most expensive in the last year. Anyways, guys, over which period disinflation occur in Japan? So disinflation जो हमारे पास आई है, if you look at question number 22, disinflation जो हमारे पास आई है question number 22 में, it is boy, July 2020 to September 2020. From July 2020 to September 2020, because in July 2020 inflation rate was 0.3, August में it was 0.2, September में inflation was 0. So this is disinflation. Disinflation में unless, so see, inflation, disinflation में inflation has to be more than 0. It has to be in the positive range. भले वो fall हो रही है, fall ही होती है उसमें, but it is in the positive, more than 0. But all of this is deflation, right? It says July 2020 to Feb 2021 in option A. If you look at option number A, that is incorrect. Because if you look at option number A, it says July 2020 to Feb 2021 is incorrect. Because July 2020 is 0.3 to Feb 2021. That is incorrect because from October onwards, there is deflation. So it's incorrect. So B is the correct answer. The diagram shows 3 PPC curves for a country labeled 3, 2 and 1. The original PPC for a country is 2. So this is your original PPC 2. The country experiences a fall in its working population. If the working population goes down, the PPC will shift to the left. So your PPC is now PPC 3. PPC is 3, your PPC 3. And then this is followed by a long period of recession. So in a recession, unemployment rises, so you're at point R. If now an increase in real GDP takes place, what is the increase in production? So the production will go from R to S. It will go, because this is your new potential, right? This is your productive capacity now, potential, right? So you'll move from R to S now if output rises. So it's actual growth taking place, right? Actual growth. R to S, question 23A should be the correct answer. R to S. Okay. Question number 24 says a government increases the rate of income tax. What is the effect in the short run on the AD or the AS? For question number 24, the correct answer has to be A for Apple, because when the income tax would go up, it reduces disposable income, reduces consumer spending, so AD goes to the left. Pretty simple. There's no effect on aggregate supply. Aggregate supply is not affected directly by a change in the income tax. Whereas aggregate supply could be affected in the long run as well, or maybe if the income tax rate goes very, very high. If income tax rate goes very, very high, very, very high, it could be counterproductive, because it could result in workers just leaving or exiting the labor market and probably sitting at home and just relying on transfer payments. What's the point of working? So it could cause an LRA shift to the left as well. But अभी ऐसा हमारे पास कोई ऐसा ऑप्शन है नहीं इधर, इस तरह का सिनेरियो हुआ हुआ नहीं क्रिएट. बट डायरेक्टली इनकम टैक्स एडी को अफेक्ट करता है, मतलब डायरेक्टली एएस को अफेक्ट नहीं करता, बट ये पॉसिबिलिटी एग्जिस्ट करती है डिपेंडिंग एमसीक्यू के हिसाब से. क्वेश्चन 25, a country's current account deficit is larger this year than last year. What is most likely reason for this? G. Question number 25. Domestic inflation has risen faster than the inflation of its major trading, which makes sense, because if inflation is rising faster than your major trading partners, then demand for exports will go down because it will become uncompetitive. At the same time, I mean, your economy, firms and consumers would start importing from other countries, because your major trading partners have less inflation, so they'll import from them, and so your current account would worsen. So you'll have higher imports and lower exports, which will worsen your current account. Question 26 says a supply side measure is most likely to produce short run growth in a country's AS. Which supply side measure is most likely to produce short run growth? Okay. In a country's aggregate supply. What is short run growth? What do you understand by short run growth? 26. What is the answer to question number 26? A, very good. Easing the controls of immigration of workers. See, short-run growth basically means, increase in real GDP. While long-run growth means increase in productive potential. The capacity to produce has gone up. So, immigration of workers that's what short-run growth is, and immigration of workers will ultimately have an effect on capacity as well. Because the quantity of labor force will go up. Perfect, fine. We understand that. It will have an impact, but it will also have an impact on short-run growth. Why? I'll tell you. Because, see, you need to think from the context that if you look at the expenditure on primary education, बच्चों की education, it will take a lot of time to materialize over years. That the fact that primary education translates into those children grow up, they enter the labor force. It has a huge long time lag in order to materialize. Expenditure on research and development will take a lot of time that innovation will take a lot of time to materialize and show its grandeur or larger effect on the macroeconomy. That will take time as well. Privatization of public utilities will result in efficiency that could cause output to rise. Because when public industries, but that will again take time as well. It will take time for it to materialize. But easing the controls on immigration of workers, immediately workers would start coming in your country and they would start producing more output. So it would immediately result in a rise in aggregate supply. It would immediately result in growth. As in, consider the fact that short-run growth, more GDP would be made immediately, very quickly. Out of the three that we have given the answer options, A is the best fit, 26. Like they will start producing output very quickly, right? I mean, quickly in the sense that you'll see changes taking place. You will see positive effects taking place, like in a few maybe months, right? Or maybe a few quarters. Or in less than a year. That's what we are saying. ठीक है? समझ आ गई बात? 27. Which tax may a government use to reduce income inequality? Remember, it's always a progressive tax. Progressive taxes reduce income inequality. Because progressive taxes are based on the ability to pay. And progressive income tax system charges a higher percentage of tax from people who are... progressive income tax hota hai to tax as a percentage of income, a higher proportion of tax as a percentage of income is paid by the rich than the poor. So it's based on the ability to pay and it's more fair, it's more equitable. 28 says a foreign government pays a UK's university to educate its students. So UK को inflow मिल रहा है ना, UK, so UK की secondary income में trade and 28 should be trade and services में आएगा as an inflow. 28 should be C for Charlie, because when the foreign government is paying a UK university to educate its students, then it is an export of service. For the university, it is considered as an export of service, right? So it will be recorded trade and services as an inflow. 29 says a government wants to reduce inflation. It has decided to cut spending by 1 billion. The diagram shows different starting points for the country's AD curve. Which starting position for the AD would make this policy least effective? So the government is deciding to cutting down inflation because it wants to reduce inflation. Na? So ठीक है. Which starting point for the AD curve would make this policy least effective? So AD1. Because if this is the starting point, if this is AD1, and this is your price level, then this is your price level, let's say, or be somewhere over here, this is your price level. The maximum that you can do is that you can bring down your price to like this, B2. And this is not, it's not really a good idea, because ultimately, if you reduce AD, what's going to happen is that the price level would slightly go down from AD1 to AD2. From AD1 to, a shift in AD would basically, a shift in AD to, let's say, AD1 to whatever ADA or ADB, जो भी इसको you can label it. Let's say it from AD1 to AD2. The price level would go down by a very small amount, but it would result in a large negative output gap, right? It would result into a large negative output gap because it would create, so real GDP would decline by a lot more than the fall in price level. So this is a totally ineffective policy. what we're saying is that real GDP, would decline by a lot more than the than basically the decrease in price level. That's what we are saying. The real GDP declines by a lot more than a decrease in price level. Right? समझ में बात आ रही है? And this is totally ineffective because we don't want that. What's the point? But if, let's say, your AD was somewhere over here, it was somewhere over here, let's say, somewhere over here, and this was your price level, and you bought your AD from, let's say, here to here, so you can clearly see that the output doesn't goes down a lot, but the price level goes down a lot. So there's not much decline in real output. That's a good thing because you don't want output to decline by a lot of amount, but then the price level goes down, which is the policy objective. So here the policy objective is, it doesn't really makes a good sense because already the economy is way below full capacity. So at 81, it's not a good idea. The policy would not be that effective. Such a policy would not be that effective. That's what we are saying. 30 says the government reduces the rate of tax firms are charged on the land and buildings. The tax firms are charged on land and buildings. So when the government will reduce that tax, the cost of production will go down. When the cost of production goes down, the aggregate supply curve or the supply curve simply goes up. Aggregate supply curve होगा ना, economy की macro economy की बात हो रही है. So aggregate supply curve would go up, SRAS would go up, and that would mean that the simply ADAS and simply SRAS goes up, price level goes down, real GDP goes up. So real GDP rises, real output rises, and the price level falls. Your SRAS shifts from SRAS1 to SRAS2. Real GDP rises from Y1 to Y2. Price level falls from P1 to P2. That's it, guys. We're done. एक और पेपर भी हो गया. ओके जी, अब मुझे बताएं. I think that is we are done, guys. I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. You guys have been attending my stream since a long time now. That's the end of our journey, and I wish you all the best, guys. ठीक है. पहले मुझे अपनी बात तो पूरी करने दो. चीट शीट ही मिल जाएगी. तो बस कल अच्छे सबने करना है. ठीक है, बहुत लंबा सोना है. बस अब ज़्यादा जागना नहीं. And just finish off the वो cheat sheet, and that's it. And I am sharing the cheat sheet over here, and what I want you to do is that before 9 a.m. in 9 a.m. तो सुबह पेपर है, उससे पहले आप लोगों ने सारी चीट शीट जो है वो शेयर कर देनी है सारे ग्रुप्स में. यू वांट टू पुट इट ऑन रेडिट पे डाल दें, व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स में सर्कुलेट करवा दें, इंस्टाग्राम पे लिंक शेयर कर दें, अपनी स्टोरीज़ पे लगा दें. बस सबके पास ये चीट शीट होनी चाहिए, बिकॉज इसके अंदर 2-3 चीज़ें अगर आप देख लें. इसमें मैं आपको गाइड भी कर देता हूँ. सबसे पहले इसमें आपने ये पूरा देखना है इसको. ये आपने फार्मूलाज हैं नेशनल इनकम के, इन्फ्लेशन डिफ्लेशन के, सारा जो हम कर रहे थे ना, नेट प्रॉपर्टी इनकम और ये सब चीज़ें इसमें हैं, दी हुई हैं. जिनी कोएफिशिएंट की सारी चीज़ें वैल्यूज़ दी हुई हैं. सही है. देन यू अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट के फार्मूलाज दिए हुए, लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन रेट के दिए हुए हैं, इन्फ्लेशन कैसे कैलकुलेट होती है ये भी बताया हुआ है. राइट. उसके बाद फिर ये MRT ART की भी वर्किंग्स दी हुई हैं. MRT ART की भी सारी कैलकुलेशन और वर्किंग्स हैं. ठीक है. उसके बाद कुछ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट की चीज़ें हैं. उसके बाद इसमें बेसिकली जो नए टॉपिक्स बेसिकली मैं आपको बताता हूँ. A2 से ना AS में 2023 में कुछ नए टॉपिक्स इंट्रोड्यूस हुए थे, तो ये उसकी बेसिकली चीज़ें हैं सारी. और इसके अलावा हाँ देखो ना, ये पूरा नेशनल इनकम स्टेटिस्टिक्स की भी चीज़ें हैं. ठीक है. उसके बाद यहाँ पे आप टूवर्ड्स द एंड आ जाओगे तो इसमें फॉर्मूला शीट नहीं है, लेकिन ये तो बखैर पुरानी वाली है चीट शीट. जो नई वाली लिंक मैं आपको भेज रहा हूँ उसमें फॉर्मूला शीट भी मौजूद है. ओके गाइस, तो मैं आपको चीट शीट की फॉर्मूला शीट भेज रहा हूँ, उसमें फॉर्मूलाज भी हैं सारे. जी फ़हीम पूछें. एनी क्वेश्चंस? डू यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस दैट यू वांट मी टू आस्क, यू वांट मी टू एड्रेस? जी guys, anyone who has any question that which variant should I review since I have variant, उससे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता फ़हीम. whether you have variant 1, 2 or 3, that doesn't really matters. Just practice all variants. वेरिएंट 2 के सवाल भी 1 में रिपीट हो रहे होते हैं, 3 के भी 1 में हो रहे होते हैं, 1 के 2 में भी हो रहे होते हैं. सो दैट डजंट रियली मैटर्स. सर कुड यू प्लीज गो ओवर द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन मनी वैल्यू, रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन मनी वैल्यू क्या? The real value of money? See, the inflation, when inflation goes up, right, the real value of money goes down. Got it? That's what you need to know. Inflation goes up, the real value of money goes down. Because money can buy you less now. ठीक है? सर आपको ट्रीट दे सकते हैं इन लाहौर. आई माइट बी विजिटिंग लाहौर इन समर्स, देन यू कैन डेफिनेटली ट्रीट मी देयर. नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. Subsidy की representation, Abdullah, what do you want me to, what sort of representation do you want me to address? यार देखो, चीट शीट ना मैं इधर ही भेज रहा हूँ आप लोगों को. आप लोग उस चीट शीट को ना हर जगह सेंड वो सर्कुलेट कर दें रेडिट पे. तो मेरे पास अभी भी मेरा इनबॉक्स इतना स्पैम्ड है, बच्चे मुझसे चीट शीट मांग रहे हैं. आई एम सो टायर्ड, इट्स लाइक 2 AM एंड आई हैव टू, आई हैव अ मीटिंग, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट मीटिंग टुमारो. सो I do not have the time right now and nor the energy to actually make an Instagram video where I was planning for a last minute tips video, but I don't have the time anymore. Oh, by the way, अच्छा मैं तुम्हें बता देता हूँ, सुन ले ये इस सवाल मैं तो बता देता हूँ. मैं तो ज़्यादा मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा आई वुडंट बी, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम उस पर नहीं जाऊँगा डिटेल में सब्सिडी का, बट तुम सुन लो. ये देख लो बेटा, फ़हीम, अब क्या नाम है तुम्हारा, अब्दुल्ला सलीम, ये देख लो, एक सेकेंड. अब्दुल्ला ये देख लो, ठीक है, इसका स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. ये है इसकी रिप्रेजेंटेशन. एमडी सहर सेज ऑल द वे फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश. सर दुआ करना, बिल्कुल इंशाल्लाह आपके लिए दुआ करेंगे, सबके लिए दुआ करेंगे. ठीक है अब्दुल्ला, समझ गए, इसको पढ़ लेना, समझ में आ जाएगा. नहीं आए तो मुझसे इंस्टाग्राम पे पूछ लेना. ओके गाइज, आई वुड लाइक टू साइन ऑफ नाउ. आई विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट. यू गाइज हैव बीन अ ग्रेट ऑडियंस. वी हैव हैड अ ग्रेट जर्नी टुगेदर एंड आई ऑनेस्टली wish you the best. Make me proud, please. Let me know how did the paper go, and if I get the time I will try uploading the marking scheme of tomorrow's paper as well. Not promising, but inshallah I will try my level best. Thank you so much for being a great audience. Thank you so much for all the support, all the love that you guys have shown on me, and for everything that you guys do. Your messages and everything means a lot, and I really will pray for you all and I wish you the best. बहुत ज़्यादा पूरी रात जागना नहीं, प्रशांत भेज रहा हूँ. And I'm sending the cheat sheet link now. To just circulate the cheat sheet. Make sure that everyone who has a paper tomorrow has this cheat sheet in their hands before the paper. मैंने आपको लिंक भेज दिया है. I am also pinning the link. मैंने लिंक को पिन भी कर दिया है. सही है, सबको मिल गई. Okay guys, see you. इजाज़त दे मुझे. And inshallah we will then have a discussion tomorrow regarding the paper. Curious minds, बेटा आप curious minds, आप पहले अपना मुझे नाम बताएं. मैं बहुत curious हो रहा हूँ आपका नाम जानने के लिए. Incidence of subsidy बता देता हूँ, but that is the last question. I need to sign off then. Okay. सज्जाद. अल्लाह हाफिज़, अल्लाह हाफिज़, अल्लाह हाफिज़। देखो सब्सिडी का जल्दी से देख लो, पीएस के हिसाब से बता रहा हूँ, पीडी के हिसाब से हम अज्यूमिंग कि आपको पता है, बट पीएस के हिसाब से बता रहा हूँ मैं आपको सब्सिडी। अगर आपकी पीएस इज़ इन इलास्टिक, ठीक है, लेट्स से पीएस इज़ इन इलास्टिक एंड पीडी इज़ इलास्टिक। अब ये क्यों होता है इसका पूरा समझाने का मैकेनिज्म का टाइम नहीं है, वरना मैंने अपनी क्लासेस में तो पूरा समझाया है अपने स्टूडेंट्स को, उसकी पूरा मैकेनिज्म समझाए। पीएस सब्सिडी इन इलास्टिक एंड पीडी इलास्टिक। सो उसके अंदर सब्सिडी का जो बेनिफिट है बेसिकली किसके पास जाएगा, मोर टू फर्म्स। एंड आई एम अभी राइटिंग के लिए भी बड़ी माजरत, आई मीन आई नो कि राइटिंग इज़ रियली रियली बैड राइट नाउ, बट सही है। ये हो गई एक चीज़, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, इफ़ योर दिस इज़ फॉर द फर्म्स राइट, ये MCQs के लिए आप याद कर लेना। इफ़ द सप्लाई इज़ इलास्टिक, ठीक है, एंड इसका स्क्रीनशॉट लेके तरीके से इसको लिख लेना, एंड डिमांड इज इन इलास्टिक, ठीक है, देन मोर सब्सिडी बेनिफिट टू कंज्यूमर्स। समझ आ रहा है? सबको समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ उस वक्त यहाँ पे? ठीक है, क्लियर हो रहा है बेटा? आर यू गाइज अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट वी आर डूइंग हियर? दिस इज ऑन द रिक्वेस्ट ऑफ क्यूरियस माइंड्स सज्जाद साहब, ठीक है जी। नंबर 3, if supply is perfectly elastic, then whole subsidy benefit to consumer. If supply is perfectly inelastic, whole subsidy benefit to sellers, यानी के firms. ओके जी, अल्लाह हाफिज़, थैंक यू सो मच। इसका स्क्रीनशॉट ले लें एंड दैट इज़ द एंड ऑफ स्टोरी। दैट्स इट गाइज, बस अब जाएं और अच्छे से पढ़ाई करें। मेक श्योर दैट यू शेयर द शीट एंड ऑल द बेस्ट गाइज, टेक केयर, लॉट्स ऑफ प्रेयर्स फॉर यू ऑल। अल्लाह हाफिज़। Allah Hafiz, Allah Hafiz, Allah Hafiz. Okay, so I'm ending the stream and